YouTube comments from a video titled, Gen Alpha Can't Read and Teachers Are Fed Up. Part 5.
At Lawner Dashley Marie wrote,
To the teacher who bought the books for his students that he knew they would actually enjoy reading. Thank you. You are making a big difference in your students' lives, and I know that they will remember you for years to come. Please keep up your good work and know how appreciated you are.
At Catherine Leffin 1016 wrote,
My parents expected a lot of me. They wanted me to do better and have a better life than them. I'm very worried about how things will be when the Gen Alpha kids grow up. They want everything but don't want to work for it. They have little respect for anyone but themselves. They are rude and disrespectful in attitude. Not all, of course, but many. I worry about being taken care of when I'm older because I'm not sure if Gen Alpha is gonna do it.
As Zachary Hand wrote,
Parents fail their children, allowing them to fail at basic tasks. There, I fixed your title. These are children and are not responsible for the failures of their parents.
At Jalbob 667 wrote,
The last part, a bit education system, apologetic Teb. I've had multiple friends become suicidal due to the school environment and workload. School killed my scientific mindset, and over the past 8 years of school, my education has suffered from imp, only now recovering after graduation. My younger brother always complains about not being taught anything and being bored in school. This is not the fault of the teachers, Helid say. They're almost as much of a victim of this horrible system and culture. It's the board's government and culture for the most part. I was abandoned, abused, and broken by this system and am sick of seeing it happening to others. This needs to end.
At Varframpetwabdequang 2286 wrote,
Our culture has been hating on little kids for at least 15 years. Long before the Gen Alpha panic of the 2020s, we had the 2010s. That was when half the country denied Sandy Hook happened, while TV shows started keeling them off at the hands of protagonists to great fanfare. Everyone started referring to them as half-human psychopaths. Now, adults always forget that children listen, especially when we think they can't. I believe children have noticed our collective contempt for them and are acting accordingly.
Chimchimney Z5K wrote,
Idic, I don't think it's an educator's responsibility to teach what's a private part, giving them porn books and teaching them about gender identity in K or first grade. So how about potty training becomes part of the job? I mean, come on, who says you can send a kid to school in a diaper? Like, what a stafe.
Sidziar wrote,
Teachers are some of the most valuable contributors to our society. They don't get paid nearly enough for the job they're hired to do, let alone deal with resistance or threats from lazy parents. Hell, the parents could even meet in the middle and scroll through age-appropriate written articles on social media with their kids to give them something to practice reading on topics that the kids care about if they're that addicted to the drip feed of dopamine from their glowing rectangles.
At Haley Frambach 6589 wrote,
I don't think this new. This was the school kid sentiment in the 90s. But now we have the ability to have easier and less interactive schooling. That being said, I can't begin to fathom what those isolating wants, which are framed as viable options, might have done in the face of ever-increasing technology. Teachers are veterans at this point, both gun drills and the things thrown at them.
Etch Sparks 1449 wrote,
That 3-minute rant teacher starting at 6 Po in T50 is eloquently accurate in his commentary. As said in Cool Hand Luke, what we have here is a failure to communicate. But it's on a whole different line of meaning. It's actually a form of externally derived mental retardation, a devolving of intellect through behavioral forces. and that is the source of barbaric infantilism through which the books don't need to be burned because the readers have lost the skill to read. That leaves H.G. Wells' contrast between the pretty but ignorant Eloy and the ugly but mechanically savvy but savage Morlocks.
At the Celtic Rose wrote,
I think the problem partly lies with the teachers.
Partly, from my experience, they want the parents to do the explaining and the teaching, and then they just give tests. My son had homework 5 days a week in every subject when he was in elementary school. I would help him, and it was material he had no clue how to do. So, the parents are going to have to go over it with the child, which is basically teaching the child how to do it. That frees up the teacher to scroll on their phone and get on social media. I believe teachers are lazy and won't even get order in the classroom. I used to surprise visit my son's class, and it looked like a daycare center. 4th grade, books and stuff all in the floor, kids wandering around talking and doing whatever. My son could barely read by 4th grade, so I withdrew him and taught him myself. I'm not doing the teaching and sending him to school where he learns nothing and the school sends stuff home begging for money once a week. The rest of the blame does lie with parents who do not teach their children the meaning of the word "no." How to sit down and shut their mouths and listen for once in their lives. In the late 80s, they started putting kids on TV that were disrespectful and mouthy. I thought, oh Lord, now they are going to teach our children disrespect. Sure enough, almost all kids act that way now.
At Kilmasoftly 3215 wrote,
Jude, it's not just Gen Alpha. Everyone is getting dumber. I had a therapist who couldn't pronounce facade. It's for D she would say facade, and she didn't even know what it meant either. I had to inform her obviously I got rid of her lol. Like if you don't even know the terminology of the medical field you're in, then there's something wrong. Or you're just dumb, and when the patient whose only accolades are for being a career drug addict and cripple is more intelligent than you are, then there's really something wrong. With you doomers, read a book or look up the word when you don't know it. Or are you people too dumb to realize your phone isn't just for social media? It's also actually the world's largest dictionary, thesaurus, and encyclopedia. Who would have guessed that?
At Rachel Marshall 14 wrote,
Just have to be honest. This is what happens when you don't care. My first grader reads at a 3rd grade level, and my 4th grader is reading at 7th grade. All you have to do is consistently make them read 30 to 60 minutes a day. Stop making them iPad goblins.
At Danielle Mullen 5035 wrote,
TikTok needs to be sunken to the bottom of the ocean. It's addictive enough to tear parents away from their kids. Kids miss out on childhood itself when they are addicted.
At Caitlin Ferry wrote,
I have absolutely no problem with the new breed of kids. Yeah, there are a lot of problems, but same thing with all the generations. The issue I have these days is that the parents are absolutely useless. It's not a matter of too busy due income nonsense. It's the fact that they reply. One letter responses to our mails regarding their children's welfare, and they book interviews, then never turn up, only to feel the need to write an abusive email on the last day of term, and then wonder why their children can't pass English when they refuse to get them books. People refuse to invest in something, and if it's your child, then you reap the benefits. I can't wait until the little kids can't move out of home at 18 because they don't have the intelligence skills or resilience to leave and get a job.
At Pearl Polanski wrote,
This is Trump's America. Even he poops in a diaper. That being said, our parents potty trained us and taught us to read before we went to kindergarten. They also taught us to tie our own shoes and how to write the alphabet so we could write our names and little words.
At 00 Kverlord 40 wrote,
Teachers should start calling CPs on kids' parents who won't potty train them. Chances are that's not the only thing they're being neglected. Also, it would put the parent through a whole host of trouble until they finally shape up.
At Acid 3129 wrote,
I'm 36. I have a 5-year-old non-verbal autistic son. We have been trying to potty train for the last 3 years and not made any progress. I hate sending him to school in diapers. I am lucky the school has a dedicated one-on-one educator who can change him. If you have a child that's completely healthy and has no developmental issues, and you think toilet training them is hard, you should try explaining the function of a toilet to a 5-year-old who can't talk and takes any physical contact like you shoved a red-hot poker into his skin.
At Nicaroy 1442 wrote,
My grandma basically raised me entirely on her own, all while working and taking care of everything else. I never went to kindergarten either. She taught me how to read, count, tell time, tie my shoes, and cook for myself. I was potty trained by the time I was 3, and by the time I was 5 I was already using the toilet instead of a potty. She constantly bought me books on biology, history, animals, and geography, and I loved reading them. When I started school, I was ahead of many of my classmates, and I'm extremely thankful for that. She taught me to be curious and independent from a very young age.
At Lineophiles 4019 wrote,
All these dumb kids that can't read are guaranteed all in red states or rural red areas. I'm in a blue state, and my Gen Alpha kid could read decently well in English by 2 and is going to a Japanese immersion public school. With a bunch of other Gen Alpha kids who are learning an English and Japanese just fine lol. This is ableist AF as well BTW.
At Miscabip 7198 wrote,
Right off in the 70s, 80s, 90s, it was customary to have preschoolers completed potty training. Normal development potty training starts at age 2 for both genders with no accidents / completed by age 2 po in T5 30 months. For girls and boys by age 36 months, 3 years old. Since kindergarten starts at 5 years old, there is no excuse.
At GenGen 7594 wrote,
In the early 80s, in California, I worked in a public preschool one summer and kids had to be potty trained to be enrolled in preschool there. And when I was in public elementary school, students had to be able to tie their shoes to enroll in kindergarten. This is what happens when standards are lowered every year instead of parents being required to raise their children's skills to meet end-of-year goals. What happened kids going to summer school? Now I can see how high school students aren't able to read.
At John C. 1014 wrote,
5 years old and not potty trained? Yes, that is absolutely neglect, unless there's a legitimate medical condition. My 2-year-old is potty trained, and it literally took less than a week. Honestly, she really only needed 2 to 3 days, but my wife and I really weren't being consistent. I believe in other countries, it's the norm to get kids potty trained way earlier. I don't understand that, but I guess they make it work. In any case, 5 years old is way too old.
At a Momentuithant Minded Silv 6809 wrote,
My son was legitimately a child who was encouraged to stay in diapers for as long as he would tolerate it because his legs were in casts or braces while he was being treated for complex club feet. He was bright and eager to learn, so as his parent, I homeschooled him because ultimately his education is my responsibility, not the village's responsibility. Extreme ownership makes good citizens.
At Conurso 8324 wrote,
DCFS doesn't do anything unless the child is visibly hurt and will admit to the abuse. That's how my dad got away with so many bee stings on my siblings and I as we grew up.
At North Shadow _21 wrote,
I've been noticing this as a student. I used to be in a very good district, one with what I thought was an average curriculum, until I moved districts. Suddenly, I hated school, even though I'd found it so much fun and learned so much too. And it's not for the average teenager reason. It felt like torture. Imagine having learned something already, but having to relearn it even though you still remember it clearly. That was the definition of my year of school last year. And the district was so far behind my old one. I talked with my friend who still went to the other district, and she said that she learned what I was currently learning 6 months ago. Seriously, what is happening? I would have felt so alone if not for my sister also being in the same grade as me. We are twins. Whilst at my other district, I had been a co-leader for a book club residing during lunch, and I'd found so many other people with the same passion and hobby of reading. Coming to my current school/district, no one seems to enjoy to read. I've only met around 2 or 3 other people, and we have 3 grades combined at my school. And while at both districts people regarded me as a phenomenal reader, teachers seemed way more shocked at my new school than my old one.
At Biakugan White wrote,
There's no excuse for not potty training your child. It's laziness and aversion to working hard and properly raising your child. As someone who works with disabled children, even some of the most difficult and disabled children have been taught to use the toilet. Not every disabled child can be taught, but a majority of them can, if you're consistent. If little Timmy cries when you try to at least make him stay in the vicinity of a toilet while he goes potty, let him cry. Why are parents so afraid of letting their kids be upset? They will get over it. They will move on. But it's not helping you, and it's not helping them if you cave into the tantrums every time they cry. They just learn that they can avoid anything they don't want to do by crying a little.
At Boone Lily wrote,
I'm Gen X. I have 2 kids, nearly 22 and 18. Both read better than me. I'm dyslexic, but not stupid. I binned social media years ago. I quickly realized it made me miserable. Social media is Satan's armpit. Thoughts?
At The Elusive Reality wrote,
In America, you guys don't even start kindergarten until you're 5 or SIX, which is already crazy late. So these people have SIX-year-old children who aren't even potty trained? Y'all are fucking cooked LMFAO. I was in school, fully potty trained, and reading by age parentheses 3 and im from a RD3 world country.
At Misanthropos 6211 wrote,
Who is sending kids to kindergarten without being potty trained yet? That is way past the age of being in a diaper. That just seems like parental neglect.
At VGOI King of the Gods wrote,
Education is fucking dead. The only thing that they need to teach in schools is how to pay your fucking bills, and that's it. Which would be math. That's all they need. Because everything else you can learn on your own on YouTube.
At Rian Chambers wrote,
Yes, millennials and Gen Z all have alpha kids, but this non-potty training thing must be a Gen Z parenting issue. My kids were potty trained by 2, and I don't know of a single other millennial parent who didn't potty train their kid. This is some Fortnite parenting BS.
Et Eriala Viva te wrote, Children are being developmentally isolated. Parents on their phones, working multiple jobs, and gaming while kids are given iPads or put in front of the TV. Hell, most kids are not even eating off plates with utensils. They are using those squeeze pouches and snack bags. Children are not interacting with people, watching adults do basic things, or playing with other children. A child being nonverbal and still in diapers in kindergarten without a diagnosable medical reason is a huge red flag. Kids learn language, motor skills, and empathy from observation and practice. We are cooked.
Copy. 23 wrote.
Not an educator nor a parent here. I noticed this stuff years ago. My ex has a Gen Alpha kid. I was with her for almost 7 years. The kid was 8 when I met her. The father left her when the kid was around 2, so she practically raised him by herself. She worked her ass off. She's a hotel hospitality manager. So long working hours were a daily for her when starting her career. One of the first things I noticed was the fact that he couldn't focus on watching an entire movie. He started looking at his phone, getting up and do some other stuff, and so on. Then, I noticed how many different hobbies was he participating in, and not committing to any of them. But I thought, well, he would eventually find out what he really likes. And sometime after, I bought him a Nintendo Switch. Kids love video games, right? I surely do. And I decided to get him the Super Mario Odyssey game. I said this kid's gonna love this, and he would be having fun for weeks. I came home next day, asked him about the game, and he tells me he finished it. I'm asking, how did you do that, without realizing the game as an easy mode, which is more accurately almost an auto mode? He just took a couple of hours and beat the game that way, never bothering to complete any of the challenges. And we're talking about a good income household where he currently has access to whatever he needs. I don't even want to think about lower income kids with parents stuck at work or multiple jobs their entire day.
At Malicious Kit 3N wrote.
Parents, you're supposed to help potty train my child. Those same parents, if a teacher actually did help potty train, did you have my child expose themselves to you? Teachers nowadays, or anyone really, are damned if they do, damned if they don't. There really is no winning anymore. There's just, you did this wrong, or you did this more wrong. Tutto tocar con voi.
At Jen Cooks Things wrote.
I work for a preschool and we had a family event. This preteen sibling was asking about what the food was I was putting out, and I said, "Oh, we've got everything labeled right here." Because I couldn't stand there the whole time. He stormed off and his mom just casually said, "Don't mind him. He can't read," and proceeded to grab some food without a care. Like, ma'am? Why can't he? Help your child?
At John White 7218 wrote.
Y'all know what parents are threatening this man's life. People not taught emotional competency, people that have kids when they are kids, and people that the media triumphs as some unsung heroes, when in actuality they are dragging us down. Being nice is nice. Being smart is smart. If you think hate is going to fix any single problem in your life, then you are the problem in your life.
Cogline_Arrow wrote.
These have been complaints about every generation. The new one, the one after mine, and the one before mine all got these complaints. They're kids. They don't want to learn. They don't want to read. They want to play.
At Black Gia wrote.
What do ye AB? If a child needs diapers with 5 to 6 years, it's not going to be sent to a regular school over here in EU. There's no way. I'm feeling so sorry for you guys in the USA, USI. I don't want to know where you're going to be in 5 to 10 years.
At Stua 4067 wrote.
I have a 20-something-year-old neighbor with what I'm guessing is a 4 or 5-year-old son. The son is very shy. Like doesn't speak words shy, he just sort of grunts. I thought it was just because I was around, but the other day the little guy was verbalizing repeatedly with noise while his dad tried to understand what he wanted. Frankly, I hate to say it this way, but I hope it's a developmental issue and not a sign of neglect. That little kid should be talking his little face off.
At Codex 87 wrote.
Read to you, kids, and turn on subtitles if you're the type to leave them to the screen. At least, give them that out of this just plain neglect.
At Liz 6237 wrote.
I work it for a school,
and parents don't teach kids how to properly handle tech. So they break the screens and hinges of their laptops over and over and then get mad when we tell them they have to pay for the damages. Sorry. Your kid literally told me to my face he rage quit a game that he isn't supposed to be playing on school property and punched his screen. Despite the tech generations, kids don't know how to be safe online or with their data, and they don't know how to keep a device physically intact. We assume they know basic tech functions, but they don't, and not every school or grade level teaches it. They won't even read the error messages telling them they put in the wrong password. I feel like I'm half teacher with how much I try to explain to these kids about safely holding a laptop, not grabbing it by the screen like an open book, or safely walking around with it shut and held with two hands. It's ridiculous and exhausting. Plus, both my parents are actual teachers, and I can't imagine how much they go through when a fraction of their work makes me exhausted.
At High Altitude MMA wrote,
Bad parents need to take responsibility for their failures as parents. Teachers are there to teach a curriculum, and parents are supposed to teach life skills. If you're too busy for your kid, then you are the failure.
At Admiral Pureblood wrote,
When I see or hear about grown men fathers that spend 3, 4, or even 6 hours on freaking video games a day, I just think we're fucking losers. You have a wife, you have kids, and you're sitting on your games playing circle jerk with your butt buddies. Losers.
At Wolftask wrote,
As a person who did have an EAP and didn't even have the fundamentals of how to read until age 10, it's wild that 12-year-olds aren't reading at level without a learning disability. I was reading beyond my level at 12, even with my very late start. But I guess that's the difference between education in the early 2000s and now. You don't have the time to help those who really need it because they are all behind. It's sad. I bet most of those kids could and would be reading if their parents would just put in a little effort.
At McKenna Canderson 1189 wrote,
Yeah, kids not learning is the fault of the teachers 100%. If you can't teach, then kids can't learn. It is the plain basics. Stop trying to blame overworked parents. You want a fix that tell the government, we need to lower prices so one parent can stay home and take care of the kids again, instead of every regular person holding down 2 jobs and a side gig.
At McKenna Canderson 1189 wrote,
Kids have historically low grades for one reason. Teach equality, OF teaching ND teachers, HS drastically dropped. The guy who posted this video just sounds really lazy to me. Teachers complaining about teaching kids? Then don't be a teacher. Problem solved.
At McKenna Canderson 1189 wrote,
Dude, when a child is under the care of an adult, including a teacher, THE adult IS responsible FOR kids health. I do not care if you don't want to take care of kids, but if you are going to sit here and complain about kids, you have zero business as a teacher and need to quit your job NOW. That goes to the poster of this video and any lazy AF teacher who wants to complain about teaching. Grow up, kids, or did you become teachers to stay kids?
At McKenna Canderson 1189 wrote,
Dude, you teach kindergarten. Kids will have accidents. And your terrible attitude, complaining about parents on live internet, probably gets you rude comments from parents. Yeah, this video is making me think teachers are overprivileged and lazy. If I was the parent of that teacher talking trash about me on the internet, I'd have tracked her down and had face-to-face words and possibly blows with her for putting my kid's business up on the internet. I'd know she was talking about me, and I would make her suffer for her trash talk, regardless of the situation. What do you do if you have a ASD kid with trouble who needs the extra assistance learning stuff like that from teachers? Weird teachers do the ALLTHE time for those kids and parents.
At Mady Warsaw wrote,
What the actual heck is going on in schools in the US? Jesus Christ almighty, I have no words. Our kids in England have TOBE potty trained when they go to school at age 4. Everyone can read. I have not known one single person that didn't know how to read. Oh my lord, I can't. No words.
At McKinnick Anderson 1189 wrote,
Honestly, I think it is time we move our classrooms online into VR. Too many teachers are disgustingly attracted to young children, and too many of those gross people take advantage of the system by going for jobs that place them around children where they are protected from getting caught, and if they are caught, allowed off the hook. Have assigned social gathering hours for kids to physically see each other, but move most of education to VR. It'll stop school shootings as well. After having a teacher in high school recording underskirts with his webcam and getting caught with illegal video content containing kids on his laptop he used for class, and was rehired 2 years later, I am not a big supporter of the teachers who complain. Feels like a bunch of lazy people complaining their jobs are too hard. You'll work in a sawmill or factory. See how fast you decide you love teaching even the dumbest kids who can't read.
At Catheringe 51679 wrote,
I can promise you that online school during COVID and the constant exposure to screens for everything from entertainment to education, as well as the frames changing every 2 seconds, has more to do with the issue than potty training does.
At Catheringe 51679 wrote,
OMG, in Alabama, kids have to be potty trained before they can attend PREK. Haha, no wonder liberals act like a bunch of babies. They were still pooping in diapers in kindergarten, eh?
At Julie Wilbur 647 wrote,
My Jenna Grandies have no phones or unsupervised/untimed internet access. They read and have to write mini book reports. This is at home, all year, not school related. I keep telling them they are going to be the new leaders of the world based on this fact alone.
Isoltus Tai 2NF wrote,
Neither right. I see all these kids, including mine, with a terrible handwriting. My son reads very good. I started to give him books since he started to read, but his handwriting.
CK Feeful wrote,
Great teacher, driving, recording, and consistently looking at the phone camera. He has a good point. But still, man, record it when you wait for your Starbucks coffee.
At Yoda Trucker 420 wrote,
As an expecting father, I'm learning a lot of people want the moment of having a child for the gram, but don't want to raise them and instead want the devices raise them.
At Holly Jackal wrote,
That's nuts. Is this actually a thing? My 6-year-old reads chapter books. I can't imagine not being able to read ETLL by this age. All I had to do was read to her and teach her letters and their sounds, which was pretty easy because kids are little sponges. So, these parents can't even be doing the bare minimum.
At Ashley Pruitt 5282 wrote,
My mom wanted me to be a teacher when I was in high school, but I saw the writing on the wall with my fellow peers. Graduated 2010. Told her how lazy my peers are and how it's only going to get worse. Looks like I was right.
And Fei Peng 187 wrote,
I graduated with multiple kids 2003, and they never learned how to read or spell correctly. I wasn't sure how they even made it to graduating period. I worked with one of them at a company years later. One of his supervisors came to me asking if I could read what any of this says. It was the one guy I mentioned, and at the age of 30 he still couldn't write or spell correctly. It was an incident report, and we literally didn't say anything, but it was so hard to understand, and we basically just let it be. So I'm sure today many kids never learn much from what I've seen online and in articles for having awful parents and not giving a darn about their educations. Living on smartphones.
At Ashligacheveria 9473 wrote,
Who is this? My alpha and his friends are some of the most intelligent kids I've ever met. Millennials have to pile on kids to make up for their shortcomings.
At Susan Fast 2314 wrote,
All of my kids were potty trained with a rare accident here and there. But parents, please potty train your kids. Teachers have enough to do without potty training your children.
At Evangelium Di Silenti wrote,
I am a millennial, and I've said shame on my fellow millennials because some are sending their kids to school and they're not potty trained. Or they use phones/tablets as a babysitter. It really is terrible for the child. My BF's baby mama has 5 kids, all different dads. Her third child, he is soon to be 16 now, was not fully potty trained until he was 13. Part of that, I suspect, was real disconnect and neglect/trauma from his childhood cause the kid lived out of state with his bio dad half of it. Before he left to go live with his dad, he still wasn't potty trained though. We blame his mom cause she's never around and has let all her kids grow up on screens. It's disgusting. If I ever have my own children, they are not going to be allowed to have a phone or tablet until 16. Don't care how much they hate me. It's for their development and well-being.
At Eddie Bernays 514 wrote,
I have 3 kids, 12, 5, and 4. My 2 oldest had no issues getting potty trained, but my youngest is terrified of it and will not learn.
The Chaco Tout Door Recreation wrote,
Today, caesarean sections, or C-sections, are an exceedingly common method of childbirth, accounting for most of all babies delivered in the United States. At one point in time, however, surgical delivery via a C-section was an option of last resort. Today, normal childbirth is very rare. Children born by C-section also suffer increased rates of diseases, including asthma, type 1 diabetes, allergies, obesity, as well as reduced overall cognitive functioning and lower academic performance. In normal labor, brain chemicals are transferred from the mother to the child during labor, and a human bond is formed. A caesarean baby is bereft of these human qualities and is a different species of earthling, a soulless thing that can only produce other soulless, unnatural beings. Expect more gender confusion and sociopathy, a mental health condition in which a Caesarite consistently shows no regard for right and wrong and ignores the rights and feelings of others. Womb seeding refers to the practice of inoculating a cotton gauze or a cotton swab with fluids to transfer the womb flora to the mouth, nose, or skin of a newborn infant to limit the damage of artificial birth and impart some human characteristics that reduce autism and the monstrous effects of artificial birth.
Decorn BRZRKR wrote,
1:30 in some other countries it is. I think with any problem, one needs to look at both sides of an issue. Not being a teacher, my takeaway is, what do teachers expect? Not in a condescending or accusatory way. But what is the expectation? And honestly, I know a lot of people who expect a teaching job to just be an easy paycheck. Is this a result of years of teachers' unions? Schools and school districts have dictated in no uncertain terms exactly how parents and students are to approach schools learning with no discussion. Students will do this. They will no do that. Now parents have become accustomed to the schools simply setting their demands. This is a problem. You fix it.
Jenny Lamberta wrote,
Mostly all of them are in MAGA RED Republican states. This is why Trump and MAGA love uneducated people. Stupid people are easier to manipulate, cheat, and steal from.
Cassite wrote,
It's always the same. Old gens blame new gens by not trying hard enough, but look, Gen Z's is changing governments worldwide. We were also blamed, and Gen Alpha in the same Sich ATM. Guess what? They will be even better and more conscious about everything around them. Just make songs or animations with AI and put your lessons in it. Then make pop quiz like an actual game that they will see their points grades. Make exams online in classroom and let them gain points grades. Everyone has an iPad, tablet, phone, etc. There are many tools that you can do these to get their attention. It is your job to gain their attention, ATM. They are just kids, bro. C. Moon.
At Liam and G wrote,
Young parents expect too much from teachers, already burdened by the public school system. You're not their friend, you're their parent, and if you don't know the difference, you are a part of the problem.
At Shay 516 wrote,
Heart of the village. There is no reason my child should be a jerk or poop in their pants accidents happen. Teachers need more support from us parents that are parenting. I can't believe they can't even put little mean kids in timeout. It's absolutely absurd.
At Maddage 5738 wrote,
My kids doesn't have any of these problems because I did take the time to teach her when she was younger, but I had that time. I see a lot of single mothers that also take that time with their kids, and some kids are delayed in some of those areas. Not all kids are the same, but I do have to say, I cannot take this video seriously, where it's obvious they don't even have kids. It's only a point and blame when they have no clue what it takes to be a parent. I don't even think any of those teachers have any of their own kids, and now that I'm thinking about it, they all look in the same age range, so what does it say there? Just weird. Not saying the issues they are pointing out are not true, but I don't think these are new issues.
At Taylor King 7467 wrote,
For the guys who may not know, what happens in your strategy games when you neglect the tech science skill tree? You get surpassed by the AI and get mulched in combat BCUR, bringing a musket to a nuke fight. Teach your kids how to read.
At Juan Riezer 580 wrote,
I have a challenge with my children who are 13 and 7. Impressed I am that they can read, and very well at those ages. What is a challenge is, they do not comprehend what it is that they are reading. So when we are working on homework and project assignments, it's almost as if I have to reteach the entire material we are discussing and/or learning about.
And Megan wrote,
I've worked with kindergarten through 12th grade age groups for 10 years and taught high schoolers for 4 PO and T 5 years. I'm so sickened by the student and parent behavior and admin's inability to stand firm on policies and standards because of fear from parents. I'm so sick of the entitlement from kids.
At Gabriela Batista 6016 wrote,
Dude, my mom had me potty trained when I was 4, not long after my B-Day, I believe. And if it were on her, I would have been potty trained even earlier. It only took so long because my grandparents, who took care of me for most of the time while my parents were at work, refused to help with that and would say it's too much work and unnecessary. So my mom took the opportunity when they went to Spain for a week to visit my grandpa's homeland to get me off diapers. It was also very necessary because schools here don't accept children if they haven't been potty trained. They're not a daycare after all. The fact that these parents think not potty training your kids and delegating that education to teachers is just unnecessable.
At Isabella Wath 9447 wrote,
Before I left education, my 6th period sophomores had no idea how to be seated, look up at the screen, pull out a piece of paper, grab a pen, and begin the bell ringer. I once just leaned on the podium and watched. 10 minutes later, I called their attention to the screen behind me. It was a teachable moment, but alas, it was lost on them. You are spot on with your video, sir.
At Brenneg 7042 wrote,
Am really proud of my 6 years old. He can read on a higher grade level than his grade. But I don't let him use devices unless it's a special occasion, and I don't let him watch YouTube or YouTube Kids. When I have let him have more screen time than he should have, he definitely acts up at school so we can have it. There are kids in his class with phones. I can't believe that. I'm not saying I'm the best parent ever. I try, but I do have my own faults for sure. But I do prioritize my son and his educational success to the best of my ability. And I think it shows compared to the parents who don't.
Jugon Blast wrote,
I'm 1/4 of the way into the video and I see this is just going to be triggering and piss me off. I'm in my early 40s and never had kids because I've always known this would be the world I'd bring them into. It's trash out here. The problem is there are a bunch of people who just don't use their brains because they have autocorrect. Internet, AI, and influencers think for them. And kids to a lot of these parents are nothing more than accessories, so they can't be bothered to actually help develop them into functioning people. They throw them into the world and say, figure it out.
Esros Myers 11 wrote,
That's sad that a 5-year-old can't go to the restroom on their own. My son had to be able to communicate, know or recognize letters and numbers, etc. before going to school. Thankfully, I was a present parent who read and spoke to my child. My son didn't get a phone or device until he was 10 going to middle school. He's 19 now and doing so well.
At SceneRaby 7479 wrote,
This is disheartening. This is disheartening. My 5-year-old niece is way ahead of this. She was talking in full if short sentences by 3. She was able to recognize letters by 4, and now she's the best reader in her class. And that's with her being an iPad kid at 4. You're telling me that there are 4th graders that can't read. That's horrifying. But that's horrifying. If it's a pattern I noticed growing up, parents not wanting to raise their own kid, parents would sit their kids in front of a TV to distract them and get mad at TV or video game companies for making mature content and making demands, so they don't have to monitor what their children watch or play. We went from that to parents having no interest in raising their kids, in favor of wasting hours on TikTok every day, and sending their kids to school, not potty trained and illiterate by grade 4. Why even bother having kids if you don't want to raise them?
At Startup 2043 wrote,
In Canada, school starts at age 4, and for kids with a late birthday like me, it's age 3. This was never an issue. This was now. How can your child be 5 or 6 and can't use the toilet?
Kingman Cheese wrote,
I was a 2nd grade co-teacher. I had kids who couldn't even spell or properly say their own name, but knew YNW Melly lyrics by heart. Parents fucking sook now.
Eratuum wrote,
Why women keep failing at everything. Mothers, women, why aren't you raising your kids? They should be getting their basic knowledge and skills and education at home first, from you. Women are failing to be mothers.
Eratuum wrote,
We have lazy garbage parents. That's where the problem starts. It doesn't matter if you send your kids to public school or whatever, your child should be getting its primary education at home.
At Gristle Daguerrero 7199 wrote,
I tried to potty train my son at 2 years, and he was scared and not ready. Finally, when he was 3, almost 4 years, he finally sit down in his potty, and after that I was determined to train him in a week, which I did. He was fully potty trained in preschool. He is now 5 in kindergarten and learning to read.
At Soup 8458 wrote,
These poor kids will never even be able to get jobs or go to college or anything. They will just start failing and never stop because things started so bad.
At Soup 8458 wrote,
It's the parents. There's the problem. They likely work all day and come home and mentally, they just crash and there's no energy left. They open TikTok and just stop caring about life. I know because my own mother is like that, and I have to do everything around the house and for taking care of the pets. She just doesn't do anything and watches TikTok instead. I'm older Gen Z BTW.
At Marandrukia 6997 wrote,
I am 27 Gen Z, and I have a 2-year-old, and I take him to Head Start, and sadly, there is too many kids not being potty trained. I can gladly say my 2-year-old goes to the potty.
At Wednesday Adams 90 wrote,
In from the Netherlands. We had a dropping in how much kids can read well enough for a couple years, but that turned around and now it's back to normal where kids can read well. With writing, the kids are still not doing good enough. I am born in 1990, and I couldn't imagine that parents fail their kids so bad. I don't know anyone my age in the Netherlands who wouldn't learn their kids to read properly. I do think some parents forget about the writing, because these days they often use tablets in school or laptops and don't write just on a paper all day long like we did as millennial or older parents. Also, a lot of kids still play outside here and don't just sit staring at a screen all day when they don't have school. But I think that will get less and less common with Gen Z who grew up with all that technology, and that's concerning. I think in the US it's also sad for the kids who can read and learn stuff on their level, and it's dumbed down. They don't get a proper education and get set up for failure, because of the lessons dumbed down for other kids who don't do well. Parents really need to step up and get their kids away from the screens instead of using screens as a babysitter and really start to parent.
At Oneverse_girl 3631 wrote,
Wait, hang on. The teachers whose job it is to teach kids to read are complaining that the kids can't read? Teach them then. Honestly, the whole education system, from the government side to the teaching side, is pathetic and rotten.
At Gen Talks 247 wrote,
Ugh, social media. Go to research boots on the ground and get back to me. We see on the internet such a skewed vision of the world. The problem isn't the kids, the problem is us. Can't complain about kids not being able to read when we've also got our heads in our phones.
At Lefty_crafty wrote,
In secondary school in the UK, many pupils around the 13th of December 2014 still can't read or count properly, and then teachers are blamed low attainment levels. But how are teachers supposed to teach their subject and also teach them to read and write and count at the same time?
Azans4 wrote,
Hearing about potty training. I assumed this was about 3Y/olds/toddlers. I don't live in the US. And was confused about having toddlers learn reading Etsy. I had no idea kindergarten was 5 to 6Y/olds. Wow.
At Kirku_5640 wrote,
I'm in a class full of 18 to 20-year-olds. Most of them can't read without stuttering every other word and don't know how to pronounce any harder words. Besides that, I'm kinda a teacher in a Christian youth group 10 to 14 years, and I can prepare a meeting that should take around 45 minutes, but it ends in 15, because literally NOONE will answer even my simplest questions. On the other hand, I can prepare like 3 simple questions for an older group 16 to 20, and it takes us over an hour to go through them, because everyone has something to tell.
Stacy Cook 82 wrote,
I just don't understand why parents don't want their children to flourish to the best of their ability. It's all I want for my kids. Learning starts at home. It's literally our job as parents to teach our children.
At Korea Kim 693 wrote,
Part of WASP culture is to have wraparound church and school systems so you can generally ignore your kids. When WASPs move to or colonize a place that doesn't have those services, they still just ignore their kids. You cannot have a society with WASPs that doesn't have extremely strict schools that will literally not let you leave that child to fail or poop themselves. You absolutely must be strict with these goddamn people.
As Sherry Dyer, NQ1JT wrote,
I understand accidents happen, but NO teacher is responsible for potty training children. I had 3 kids, and as soon as they started walking and talking, potty training began. Also, show them how much diapers cost. Toy or diapers.
as Justin Masuda 48 wrote,
What good is an education if Gen Z needs 10 years of job experience for entry-level position? Collages teaching DEI nonsense is why companies purposely demand that experience, because the collage isn't teaching them the subject as much as DEI. If you want children to take their studies seriously, then make sure collages actually create qualified workers.
as 00 Thed wrote,
Love, love, love going from content that talks about how people need 2 to 3 jobs per person to be able to survive. Then bounce over to public employees complaining that parents aren't involved. Dang bad parents. Give me money for daycare and misinforming/tracking our kids all day by force. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that. Yeah, we own our kids step out of line and we'll take 'em. Dang bad parents.
at Red Velvet Reaper wrote,
We're devolving as a species. Plain and simple. Once all generations who were raised right are gone, all that's left to run society will be a bunch of adults in diapers with the intellectual capability of a rock. God help the future.
as Spice Up Your Afterlife wrote,
This is why I firmly believe that some people should not be parents. If you're not going to put in the effort of raising your kid, connecting with them, and teaching them the basic life skills that they need to function, you should not be having kids.